Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and of course, we've got Lee Cockerell with us, and Lee has been hosting a lot of family. So Christmas passed, and Lee was lucky enough to have people travel from all over the country and I guess other countries to come and visit. So that was probably nice, Lee, to have everyone back at home.
Yeah, it was our year to get everybody here. Next year they'll go to their in-laws and other girls and boys' relatives. But yeah, we had our son and his wife here, Daniel, and our grandson from France flew in. He's going to college there, and uh, Julian and Vanessa from Boston, and Margot and her husband Rob from Manhattan. And so I've spent most of my week going to the airport and pick them up, bring them back. And so it's just been great. We've had everybody here, 9 people in the house. Um, I'm glad the garbage guy came today because our recyclable bin was full and running over with so many people. We've never had that many. So it's been great. We had a great Christmas. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. If you are going to travel, Lee may or may not give you a ride to the airport, but you will still want to call our friends at Magical Vacation Planner because they can help you perhaps find a different ride to the airport and make all your travel plans. You can reach them at 407 442 2694. Okay, Lee, I have a topic for this week that I pulled from something else that you said. Sometimes I'll write down things that you say, and then weeks or months later, I say, I want to know more about that. And this is one of those cases. I think this was on a Cockerell Academy community call. You said, tell them what you are doing for them because all they will remember is what you didn't do. Okay, so the context is you were at this is when you were with Marriott and you had done a lot of little things for the hotel staff and you were saying sometimes you need to remind them that you've done these things. So talk a little bit more about that because I know a lot of leaders are quiet about some of the stuff they do, humble about it, you just being a servant leader. But you do still have to point out that, yes, I am taking care of you. Here's what we've done. So that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's natural that we all complain about what we didn't get in life instead of remembering what we have. And so I really started thinking about that to remind the employees what we were doing for them, how we were marketing the hotel, so they had full-time schedules, that we had fixed. I had a meeting where we listed the things they complained about, and I came back to them and reminded them a month or two later that we had taken care of that and we had fixed that, and it was things as small as a little leaking water fountain in the bar. The bartender's always I said, "Hey, I just want to remind you, I got that fixed for you, man." And somebody else complained about something else. Carpet was dirty and we needed to replace it in the lobby. And I reminded them that I took care of that. And so I think you got to market back to your employees just like you do your guests. Tell your guests what you're doing for them, and people should try to. So at least to get some appreciation out of that, because I guarantee you, most of us remember what you didn't do because it was personal. And if you're running a good operation, you're listening to your customers, you're listening to your staff, and you have a system. And I had a system where I met with a group of people every Thursday and listened to their problems and issues and things they wish we could do and fix. And I had those listed and recorded so that I could actually keep track of it and make sure that we went back and reviewed those and either took care of it and then told the employees we had taken care of it, or I would go back to the person who recommended it if we couldn't do it and tell them, that was a good idea. I liked it, but right now we can't spend that money. We don't have it in the budget. We'll keep that on the list. Or that's a good idea, not a bad idea, but we can't do it. It's just too much, and we don't get the return on investment on that. And I really learned that telling people why you didn't do something they wanted was just as important as anything else. That they appreciated somebody coming back and explaining to them why this could not be fixed, could not be done, whatever it was. And um, actually, we started something at Disney after that, and the newsletter was called "You Said and We Listened." And we listed everything. So we need another computer at the front desk. And, every quarter we published this document that said, you said you needed a new computer at the front desk. And hey, by the way, we get you one. And you said you didn't like the cafeteria food. And hey, we got involved and we improved it. Or that you thought we should have this kind of sandwich in the cafeteria and we put it on the menu now. It's available. We heard you. So I think that's what people want, is to be heard. And again, I always said one little problem for one employee is a big problem for them. And if we can fix it, we should. And if we can, we do. And if we can't, we should have the respect for them to tell them why, what the issue was, why we can do it, why we can't do it. And that just creates a better trusting relationship in the organization, that people go around saying, hey, I heard from Lee today. He keeps in touch with us. He tells us what's going on. He follows up on what we tell him. And he either tells us when he's going to be able to do it, if he's going to be able to do it, or if he can't do it, he tells us why. And people respect that. People respect that. And instead of just saying, because I said so, or no, that's now we can't do that. No, there's a reason you can't do it. And you ought to know the reason, and you ought to be able to explain it if you're a leader or a parent. I remember Daniel when he was little, or not little, he was a teenager, and I told him to be home by 11 o'clock. And I think I've told this story before. And he said, why do I have to be home at 11? Because you're sleepy? And I said, no, because at 12 o'clock midnight, accidents go up by 35–40% on Friday and Saturday night from people leaving bars. And it's quite dangerous on the roads that after midnight, people start leaving, start getting in their cars, driving intoxicated. And he didn't like that, but he understood where I was coming from, that it wasn't just dad because I said so, like my parents did. My parents always said, you just do what we tell you, and I think some of the time they didn't have a reason, but probably half the time they told us no was because if they were worried about us or safety, or, just didn't take the time. And you're better off when you work with people if you respect them enough to explain to them so that they don't hold any grudges, and they also learn from you telling them why. There's a lesson here. And so that's something everybody ought to remember out there. First, if you're gathering information from your customers and your employees, keep those recorded, put them in chronological order, and then every week look through them, see which ones you're done, which ones you can't do, and how you're going to communicate that back to either the customer or to the employee. And you'll see a dramatic improvement in not only people telling you things because if you don't communicate back to them, they'll quit telling you, because they'll say, hey, I tell them, nothing happens. And so it's really a good principle to have in your business, because you're going to build the culture, more trust. And people are going to help you run your operation by telling you what's wrong. And they know things you don't know. And then we can learn together, and we can communicate with each other why we can't do it, why we can or why we can't. And seems like a small thing, but it's a pretty big thing. And I think we all know that when somebody's just told us, because I said so, or it's our policy. No, why is it your policy? What's the point here? What's the issue? So a lot of good work can be done on that. Market to your employees, market to your customers, back to them. Yeah.
I think what Lee touched on could be the most important part of this, because I know the biggest concern, at least when I was thinking through this, was our team asks us to do something or they complain about something and then we fix it. But we don't want to go around saying, oh, look what we did, because then you make it about you. That's what I was afraid of. Lee just explained, though, you telling them you did it isn't about you. It's for them, because there's a benefit for them to know that it's been done. And there's a benefit to know that their leader took care of it because it means that you're taking care of them, that you are listening. So it's not braggadocious, as my granny would say, to go around telling them what you've done for them because they need to hear it and they need to know that it's been done.
And it's, yeah, and they realize that their opinion counted, that somebody listened, whether it got done or not, that it was still alive, and you were thankful of them telling you in the first place. And maybe it'll get done a year from now, and you can continue to remind them. There's nothing like keeping a record of that, because the little things are the big things. The little things create a problem with the culture. When you don't communicate to people, you don't get back to them, you don't tell them the truth, they feel like they're invisible. And you certainly don't want a staff that feels like their uh, point of view doesn't matter. So everybody wants to matter. We've talked about that so many times, and the leader can cause that to be part of a deep part of the culture. Yeah.
And Lee's told us a story in the past about housekeepers at a hotel asking for more coat hangers. It seems like a small thing, but I'm sure they felt listened to and that you cared when you provided those coat hangers.
Or a vacuum cleaner that works. You're a housekeeper, you might think as a gentleman, oh, what's the big deal? Well, it's a big deal when you go to do your work and you don't, somebody may bring you another one, but it might be a half an hour. Now you're getting behind your work. It's frustrating. So that vacuum cleaner is a big deal to that housekeeper. Sheets with holes in them. That's a big deal because now she doesn't have enough sheets to complete her rooms. So all these little things add up to attitude problems and trust. I can't believe the management here. They never give us vacuum cleaners don't work half the time. Um, we're short of sheets when we try to make up the rooms. We got to go back. I mean, all these everything, we've said so often, everything matters to keep you from being aggravated. I was telling somebody today, I said, people wake up every morning, they got 1,000 problems. They don't want us bringing them another one. And so we've got to, that's what excellence is all about us having a great operation, and people looking forward to coming to work in the morning, get rid of the hassles. Yeah.
And so much of what Lee and I have talked about comes from being out in the operation because that's how you see things that need to be done or can ask questions about why it's done that way and uncover things that your team might need, and it just builds trust. So that's not where intended for this to go, but it does all go back to get out with your people and let them see you and listen to them and ask questions. And once you've taken care of them, let them know what you've done for them.
And if you have teenagers, they want to know why. So you'll get a lot of good practice because they don't want to just hear because I said so. Those days are over.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. And speaking of people home for Christmas, we've had our first Christmas with my son returning since he moved away for college. And it's a different experience. Because it's been so long since I was in that situation, but you can tell there's one foot in. I'm in the comfort of home with my parents, but I'm also this independent young man and I'm going to act like it too. So it's a really interesting spot to be in, I'm sure.
Pay attention, be sensitive.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's great to have him home. That is for sure. And if you like this topic and what we've talked about, and you want more tips on how to be a great leader or aspire to be a leader, then check out the Main Street Leader, which is a weekly newsletter that we put out from the Cockerell Academy that has monthly lessons about leadership, management, culture, customer service. And I think Lee's favorite part is advice from his mother.
Yeah, that advice from mother sticks. We can all think about it. We don't
Yeah.
forget the things our mothers made us understand clearly.
Yeah, and what Lee does there, he takes a saying his mother said when he was younger and then applies it to business and your career. And it's a great little feature of the Main Street Leader.
Yeah, It's fun. And
Yes,
a lot of feedback. People do like it because we can all remember all our mothers said the same things.
that's right. That's right. And the photo in the Main Street Leader for that column is Lee's mother. So if you've never seen what Lee's mother looks like, that's how you do it in the Main Street Leader, which is available in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. We've got it going in 3 languages now.
Yeah, right.
Yes. All right. And you can find that at leecockerell.com/MSL. That's one place you can find it, or go to cockerellacademy.com and you can find more information for it right there. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.